Welcome. Spark is one of the oldest skills in the game. It fires projectiles dealing lightning damage which moves fast and in an unpredictable and random fashion. With high cast speed and projectile speed, you can easily cover the entire screen in sparks. It's one of the most popular spells as of patch 3.20. The recommended ascendancy is Inquisitor with Pious Path and Inevitable Judgment. Righteous Providence and Inevitable Judgments increase your critical strike's chance and allow your critical strike to completely ignore enemies' elemental resistances. You should be able to reach 100% crit chance. Sparks have a base duration of 2 seconds and will be absorbed by the first enemy encountered. Enhance your projectile with Pierce. It can be easily achieved by linking Spark with a support gem, anointing the amulet, or from items. You will also need to increase their speed or duration. It's a hybrid build with Pious Path, so you should certainly allocate Corrupted Soul Keystone via Glorious Vanity Jewel or Replica Soul Tether Belt. It's also popular to use Heatsheaver Helmet, Call of the Brotherhood Rings, and the Annihilating Lightstaff to deal predominantly cold damage. Spark fires a lot of projectiles by default, so you don't need any extra ones. With Inevitable Judgments you don't need to apply exposure or reduce elemental resistances. You can easily gain extra elemental damage sourced or converted from another type of elemental damage with no repercussions. Your life and energy shield combined should provide you with around 6 to 7k of total life pool. With rapid life and ES regen and tons of armor, it's a quite tanky build. We also encourage using the Purity of Elements for elemental resistances with ailment immunity, and investing in block chance. Clear speed is excellent after acquiring certain upgrades. The random movement of projectiles is actually more helpful than hindering here. Single target damage is average, as you can hit the same enemy only once per cast. It's heavily tied to cast speed and damage, thus budget. Budget ranges from dirt cheap to absurdly high. It's very flexible. There are quite a few unique items that you can use. As the build is more of a loosely defined framework, you're not limited to any type of elemental damage type, and the spark itself is very basic. What we recommend is getting 2 Call of the Brotherhood Rings and a Heatshiver Helmet. These are extremely cheap and open some new possibilities. Crown of the Inward Eye is a great boost to all of your defenses and damage, but grants no elemental resistances. Heatshiver is the best option if you have 2 Call of the Brotherhood Rings. It increases your elemental damage. The Annihilating Light is the weapon we'd recommend for the most damage, but be careful, it significantly lowers your elemental resistances. Impulse's Broken Heart. A good body armor to increase your clear speed, but grants you no elemental resistances. Voidwalker Boots make your sparks pierce 5 extra enemies, which is advantageous, phasing on kill, and 20% chance to avoid projectiles while phasing. Hands of the High Templar. Increased cast speed, extra spell critical strike chance, increased maximum life, and increased maximum energy shield can make these gloves very good. The belt you can use to get Corrupted Soul as Replica Soul Tether. It additionally gives you a lot of energy shield from your life. 2 of Call of the Brotherhood Rings, Hypothermia Support Gem, and Heatshiver Helmet make a great combination. You convert 90% of lightning damage to cold and then gain extra damage as fire if foes are chilled enough. Use Call of the Void to chill and shatter enemies with lightning damage only. It also works well against enemies that are chilled with an increased chill effect. A copy of a Thread of Hope Jewel with a medium-sized ring can be put next to Instability. It allows you to allocate Heart of Thunder and Breath of Lightning. You can use Glorious Vanity instead of Replica Soul Tether to transform one of your keystones into Corrupted Soul. It has to be the Doryani's variant. Watcher's Eye grants you a bonus to life, energy shield, and an aura modifier for some of your auras: Determination, Wrath, Purity of Elements, or Zealotry. Maximum life is the single most important defensive statistic. S is sourced from it via Corrupted Soul, but you can still look for some affixes to increase it. You don't need penetration or exposure. To increase damage, look for generic spell elemental damage, cast speed, and attributes or critical strike chance with critical multiplier. Gem level and mana reservation efficiency are also very useful. Rare helmet should get you more life, resistances, and attributes. Not much to look for here. On a scepter, the most important are increased lightning or elemental spell damage, extra gem level for spark, cast speed, and critical strike multiplier for spells. Body armor. Focus on life, resistances, and shapers or hunter's suffix for extra critical strike chance for spells. On boots, once more, life and resistances will be the most influential stats here. At least a 25% increased movement speed is a must-have. On gloves, get some more life, resistances, and increased cast speed or spell damage. We'd recommend focusing mostly on elemental resistances here. Belt. Life, strength, and resistances are the only mods worth looking for on a belt. Try to get a lot of them here. Amulets offer a huge variety of mods. We recommend some of the offensive ones such as critical strike multiplier and extra gem level for spells. Crusader's influenced rings offer some of the best mods for lightning damage build. It's worth getting one or two of those. Jewels should provide extra life and some other various stats like cast speed, critical strike modifiers, attributes, and resistances. Most of the notables you can find on large cluster jewels with elemental damage base are useful, but Snowstorm is excellent as it's 10% more damage. Look for general elemental damage and resistances. Medium cluster jewel. Repeater and streamlined projectile notables will increase cast speed and projectile speed. The best unique flask is Bottled Faith. The critical strike chance and consecrated ground effect are good in almost every build, especially this one. As for other flasks, we recommend Life One with instant recovery on use, Diamond Flask with a suffix for increased critical strike chance, Granite Flask with a suffix for increased armor, and a Quicksilver Flask with increased cast speed. You may be forced to use a Mana Flask too. Spark deals lightning damage via projectiles. Link it with Inspiration, increased critical strikes, Spell Echo, increased critical damage, and added lightning damage. If your critical strike chance is already high enough, replace increased critical strikes with Hypothermia, faster casting, pierce, or faster projectiles. Orb of Storms is a static orb that hits enemies in its range, dealing lightning damage each time you cast a spell. Link it with Power Charge on critical to generate charges, Culling Strike to execute big opponents, and Onslaught support gems to gain Onslaught buff. Flame Dash is a mobility skill that teleports you over a short distance. Link it with a low-level Arcane Surge to gain a buff with each cast, and Second Wind support gems. For auras, you may use Wrath for an additional and increased lighting damage for your spells, but you will probably need to replace it with Purity of Elements if you're using the Annihilating Light. Determination adds and increases armor, which reduces physical damage taken. Zealotry increases spell damage and critical strike chance for spells. Link these with Enlightened support for increased mana reservation efficiency. Lightning Golem gives you more cast speed. It can be linked to a cast when damage taken to re-summon it automatically. Molten Shell is a guard spell that scales well with your armor to absorb more damage from hits. Assassin's Mark increases your critical strike chance and multiplier against cursed targets, grants you mana and life on kill alongside a small chance for a power charge. Sigil of Power creates an area. You have to spend mana while inside of it to get increasingly more added lightning damage to spells. Enemies inside the area deal less damage to you. Use Vol Righteous Fire occasionally to get more spell damage, but be careful, it will cost you some of your life in ES. You can kill all the bandits for the 2 extra points, but helping Alira may be the right choice if you struggle with resistances, mana regeneration, and for more critical strike multiplier. Soul of Solaris is the recommended option for a major god. It grants some durability in one-on-one fights, reduces elemental damage taken, and reduces damage taken from critical strikes. Soul of Garukin for shock effect reduction is our pick for a minor god, but many others are viable. Pick one that would mitigate the type of damage you're struggling with the most. This is an example of a passive skill tree where we didn't use any cluster jewels. We've instead allocated a lot of critical strike nodes, more cast speed, spell and lightning damage, maximum life, aura effect with reservation efficiency, reduced mana cost of skills, and even increased skill effect duration. To make space for cluster jewels, abandon critical strike or cast speed nodes, and readjust your spark setup, or items. For masteries, we've selected both life ones for more maximum life, more skill effect duration as duration mastery, elemental resistances as elemental mastery, and critical strike multiplier against unique enemies as critical mastery. That is everything for the Spark Inquisitor. The text guide and POB can be found on our website. Stay safe and see you in the next one.